Okay. Hi, everybody. Thank you for coming. Larry, if you're planning to leave, now would be a good time to leave. If you're not planning to leave, that's great too. So I appreciate you being here. I am going to turn that light back on so I can read my own notes. And I want to start by saying that this is step one of making a wall hanging together, a cooperative artwork that you will see in progress at yearly meeting. I'm going to be doing the background here at my house before I go, which is not usual for the Singing Tree project. But given the fact that we won't really have time to go through all the steps of collaborative planning and so on, I'm going to do that, having made some executive decisions. So we'll get back to that in a little bit. I want to start with going around, and I know we know each other, but if you could say your name and where you are and why did you choose to come to this thing that's happening right now online, and one thing that you're thankful for. And I will start. My name is Joanna Vaughn, and I'm here in Austin. I'm part of the Austin monthly meeting, and I'm here because I wanted to do this with all of you and with the children who will be coming as well, and everybody else who will be coming who hopefully will contribute at least one leaf or star or bird. I don't have any birds cut out yet. Or one of each. One thing I'm thankful for. I just took a breath. I'm very thankful for air and being able to breathe. And I'm going to pass my magic scissors to Lois Way so she can answer those questions too. Okay, Lois? Probably want to
unmute Lois. Yeah.
Lois Way, Fort Worth Friends Meeting. I'm thankful we're not having another tornado alert for tonight, because on Sunday there was the sirens kept blowing, and we had hail, just hail, but that could be bad. But I'm glad it's not doing that tonight.
And did you want to say why you decided to come to this?
Oh, I'm an artist, and it's just interesting to me, and that's why.
Okay. Do you want to pass your magic pen or scissors or something else to somebody else who hasn't spoken yet?
John. Did you hear me?
I did. I did,
Okay.
Lois. Yeah. Thank you. So I'm John Coughlin from the Little Rock Friends Meeting. I chose this because the name of it I found intriguing. And one of the things, let's see, there was a third question. What was the third? I'm jumping right to the fourth. The thing I'm thankful.
Yeah, something you're thankful for.
Oh, okay. Yeah, something I'm thankful for is that Tina's health is not great, but it's good enough, and it's still working right now. So I'm very thankful for that.
So
was
John,
that it? Was that it, Joanna?
That's it. And then you get to choose who's next.
Oh yeah. Well, let's go. Let's see. I can go down or sideways. Howard, I'm going to go sideways to Kevin King.
Well, thank you for choosing me, John. I'm Kevin King. I'm on Atacapa Eshak land that settlers call Houston, where we have Live Oak Friends meeting. I'm going to give you two reasons. I, I'm out of balance with the amount of art I've done in my life in the last several years. So I'm coming for more art. And I'm on a learning path with cooperative and collaborative things. And this sounds more collaborative than other offerings. And I'm grateful for life. I'm glad to be alive. Truly, this breath and the sensation of breath in my body is just truly a joy. And I'm going to pass my magic pencil to Howard.
Can't hear you, Howard.
You're not muted, Howard, but we're not hearing you.
Keep trying.
Yeah.
Way better.
Yeah. So I guess my earphones don't work. Anyway, Howard Hawkey, Friends Meeting of Boston, and the reason I'm here is, I guess, several things. But one is I like the excuse to draw and do things with color. So and that just seemed like a very refreshing thing to do. Also, Joanna facilitated this same project at Friends Meeting of Boston, and we have this beautiful tree hanging up there, and I really like it. You know, with all these things on it. And then third reason is I'm going to be Joanna's assistant when she does this sort of thing with the kids, and I just wanted to also see how we do it. So what I'm thankful for is, I guess you've all said some variation on just being here, you know, being with everybody. And I guess Chris has left, right?
I am. So Chris Drexler, and I'm from Spring, Texas, which is just a suburb of Houston. So that's Live Oak Friends Meeting. And I've never graduated beyond Stick Figures 101. So I wanted to attend tonight to see how art is really done. And I'm really happy that friends are going to get together again at yearly meeting. That really, really makes my day. And my magic thing that I'm going to share is what my daughter gave me for Christmas. She commissioned a picture of our second cat, who's just a cute little cat. And I'm sharing that with you. Something I could never do myself.
Do we see the cat?
Oh, didn't you see it on the
Not yet.
Your
I'm sorry.
bandwidth was too low for it to come across.
Oh,
Maybe try it again.
oh, so cute.
She's a
Oh.
really nice little cat. And of course, being a geologist and married to a gal that has her master's in mineralogy, the cat's name is rhodochrosite.
I know it started with an R and it ended with an ITE, but what is it?
It's a spectacular red mineral. Sometimes they actually make jewelry. It's a soft mineral, so it's not a good mineral for jewelry, but it's very pretty.
Cool. Okay. So I'm gonna do something now, which is the story of the singing tree. And I promise it won't just all be listening to me talk, but I do want to show this little slideshow, and then I want to tell a little bit about what this means to me. And you will need something. Doesn't have to be the printouts of the birds and leaves and stars. It could just be a piece of paper, because we're going to put ideas on paper, and the ideas can just be with a pen or a pencil, or they can also have color. Color will be fine. So let's see now. Kevin just taught me how to do this. I'm going to the green rectangle. I'm going to click on the green rectangle, and then I'm going to click on this intro singing tree PowerPoint. And then I'm going to click on the blue rectangle that says share, and we'll all get to see this. Okay. So I didn't.
Ta-da! I'm
Yeah.
hearing the music now.
The music. Oh, whoops. So this is put together by a group, and the group was started by Lori Marshall, who actually grew up in the Friends meeting of Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. And you will find out during this PowerPoint how this came to be. You might recognize the shapes of the birds because she came up with the bird template. And here we go. This is one of many singing trees. And ours will be number 118. You see, these have a combination of words and pictures and color, and you can allow your eyes to travel around. One thing you might notice, especially because of what Chris said, there is dark and light, and the contrast between dark and light makes it possible to see things. And so when we actually do this, we try and decide where is the light coming from, and then use the same color. You can see where the cursor is down there. There's a very light yellow ochre, and then sort of a medium, and then with a little bit of brown, so that it looks light and dark and in between. So it gives it a three-dimensional quality. Does that sort of begin to address the question that you asked, Chris?
Very much so. Thank you.
Okay. Let's see, the next one is here. Some of these are made just by young people, led by adults, and some of them are made by adults, and some of them are both. So this one has a lot of stars, and I don't know, is it possible to zoom in? Maybe not. But the stars that we do will be connected to our theme, our yearly meeting theme of spiritual refreshment for the long haul. And the stars will stand for or be in honor of people who have contributed to our spiritual refreshment for the long haul. Somebody that you knew, somebody that you heard about or read about, somebody that you know present time. It could even be your cat, whose name I can't pronounce, Chris. If she contributes to your spiritual refreshment for the long haul, she could have a star.
So Joanna, is this a PowerPoint?
This is a PowerPoint.
If you put it on slideshow, it will fill the entire screen.
Okay, and then it will also take off at its own speed, correct?
No, you can, if you haven't set anything like that, every time you click the mouse or hit the return key, it'll advance it.
Okay, so I'm learning. How do we do
Up at the
this?
top, it says slideshow. See on the toolbar, just above the toolbar, it says slideshow.
Not yet. Hold on. The reason is because I put all of us on the top on my screen. Okay.
Oh,
Just above the toolbar. Oh, slideshow.
there you go.
Click on
Slideshow. Click, yeah, you click
Okay.
on that and then
Okay.
slideshow. Yes.
Okay. Oh, it's even bigger. How nice.
Yeah.
Okay.
There you go.
Okay. So now this is what I mean by it takes off on its own. Because we missed one because it went click and
If you
took
hit
off
the,
on its own.
if you hit the back key, it'll go back.
But I have to find the back key.
In the lower right corner of your keyboard, you have 4 arrow keys. Okay, well, I didn't mean to confuse you, but if you have a back, well, yeah, I'm sorry.
An up arrow will act as the back.
An up arrow will act as the back key. Oh, okay. Okay, thank you.
There you go.
How the
There
Singing
you
Tree
go.
project began. Lori Marshall was an art teacher, and she had a student who was 8 and asked this question. Meredith Miller asked, "What if the whole world made a painting together?" And Lori let the question percolate, and the next thing you know, she was doing these Singing Tree projects. But it was also, whoops, now I got the back key. Yes, someone gave Lori Kate Sarady's book, and this is what it looked like. Ta-da! And this is an old book from 19. Okay, help me out here, Joanna. 1950 maybe. Nope, I take it back. 1940. Okay, and the book is called The Singing Tree. It's the second in a series of 2, and as a child, I read this book. It was, if not my absolute favorite book, one of my absolute favorite books. I was really a big reader. And in this book, The Singing Tree, there's a story that Kate, I think it's an autobiographical novel, really, that Kate's father, no, sorry, not her uncle, tells. He had been a soldier and he had amnesia, but Kate had a very characteristic scream, and her scream brought him out of his state of amnesia. And this is what he said. During World War I, soldiers crawled all night long on their bellies to escape the enemy. Actually, I'm going to read it from my printout of the book. And dawn, a creeping man said, as if he had never hoped to see a dawn again. Ahead of us and behind us lay a devastated forest with only skeletons of trees still standing here and there. Underfoot there was the same litter of broken things we had come to know by touch, if not by sight. Barbed wire, broken guns, empty cartridges, empty tins. All around us was the same silence that had roared in our ears all night. And then, as the sun broke through the clouds at last, we saw one tree, one single apple tree that must have been near a house, only the house was no longer there. "It's alive," a creeping man said, but with the words he rose. "Alive," another man said, as if he never hoped to see a green tree again. "It sings," someone whispered. "It's alive, I can hear it." Now men rose to their feet and walked and ran, like men, toward the singing tree. I'm sorry, this always makes me want to cry. Which was alive with birds, living birds, singing to the dawn in a live apple tree. Birds, little wrens and sparrows, late robins, warblers, thrushes, orioles. The green tree was alive with birds, all singing, singing to the dawn. Against the trunk, owls huddled sleepily. There were jackdaws, and even a crow or two had taken shelter there. Friends and foes of the bird world, side by side, all from different nests that perhaps would never shelter them again, for nests must have fallen with the trees that held them. And here they were, small, feathered orphans of a man-made storm, huddled together on a green apple tree, singing to the dawn. Anyway, as you can tell, even though it's been many years since I first read it, it still affects me very much. This is her picture of those men.
Mhm.
Okay, so let me get, oops, I'm sorry, back to that one. So the earth is like the singing tree. For billions of miles, there's no life that we know of. We can choose to destroy our precious planet and each other, or we can create beauty that has never been seen before. And we have no idea. Well, I shouldn't say no idea, but we don't know how it's going to come out. It's not something you can really completely plan. Okay. So 20,000 people from 52 countries have created a forest of 88 singing tree murals. Well, now it's up to 117. As I said, ours will be 118. And there's some music going around behind it. And so kind of the given thing that makes them all part of the same group is that the singing tree is a tree on the earth in space. And that's what I will do before I come to yearly meeting. And it's going to be a post oak tree. And each singing tree is different, as you can see, very different. And working on a common project generates healing and innovation. And you get to know each other better. So trees are models of generosity. They give us oxygen, as we know. We give them the CO2 that they need, that we need to expel from our lungs. And trees support 300 different life forms, whether they're alive trees or dead trees. They support life forms. They clean water, they make fruits, nuts, millions of seeds, and all the leaves work together for the tree as a whole. Any thoughts that anyone cares to share at this point?
Yes, trees are also extremely important in slowing runoff. They knock the peak off flood events. If you have a lot of trees with a lot of duff underneath the trees, it's a huge help for lessening the dangers of flooding. It's one of the problems you have when you develop an area and you cut the trees down.
What is duff?
Leaf matter,
Okay.
bark that falls down.
Okay.
Trees are also such givers of life. Especially you notice this as the winter turns into the spring, and we have a lot of birds in our backyard and a lot of squirrels, the whole combination. And we used to have cats ourselves, but we don't have cats anymore. But the power of trees for smaller animals of all sorts, whether they fly or not, is just incredible. And it's on display all the time, but I have to grab the time to do it. It always surprises me.
And I'm on
Anybody?
trees, thinking of what we don't see, the roots and the community down there under the ground with the mycorrhizae. And some trees have entire unseen communities underneath because they propagate by rhizomes like the aspens do. And even those that don't form these big networks of the mycorrhizae that are miles, tens of miles in distance.
Right. I've read that trees communicate with each other underground and that they help each other, which is really interesting. Lois, did you have anything you wanted to say, or Howard?
I've been doing some trees and some artwork I've been doing. I started out with the Saltus drawings, and I would put the trees with roots that go down, and I draw like a sky and bitter sky, usually what I've been doing. So I like the image of a tree quite a bit, and going with the group.
Howard, did you want to say anything? I know you've been planting trees and growing them. But once again, we cannot hear you. Did you want to not try to share since we couldn't hear you? I'm trying to read your lips, Howard, but I'm not succeeding.
Uh,
Oh, there.
Yeah, okay. I'm going to try another setting on my mic in a minute, maybe next time I talk. But we have been planting a lot of trees, and we just keep putting them out there. And since we first moved to this place, there were 2 trees on an acre of land. That was all there was. And now the place looks. I'm so glad we don't have a homeowners association because the place looks really, really, to the untrained eye, looks very overgrown. But one of the differences is all of the birds that you hear in the morning, which we didn't used to hear. So that kind of ties it in with this, I think.
Yeah. Okay. So let me just go down a little ways to see a few more. And you are essentially the design team. Now, you're not choosing the driving question because the theme of yearly meeting is pretty much the driving question. You're not choosing the kind of tree because I did. But you are going to be choosing based on whatever you draw or write this evening, or between now and, well, actually it should be this evening or in the next couple of days. Otherwise I won't be able to do it before I go to a yearly meeting. How the earth will be shown, what you want to have included. I will do my best to paint a galaxy, but if there's anything that you particularly want to be out there, you can either write it as a word or draw it. And if there are any other kinds of plants or animals besides the tree, the birds, what would you like to have included on the planet? Okay, or in the picture? That's an open question. And so you could see that it's fine to write on the template birds or the template leaves. That one says every dream a prayer. The yellow bird says that. The other one I simply cannot read. So, oops, I pushed the wrong button. So, your vision, your voice. That's what we're looking for tonight. And again, you can see on these leaves that you can use words and color and images. And what does it say? Observe in the dark. I think that's it for that. So now I do stop share, right? Yes. Okay. Yeah, yes. Okay. I'm going to say let's stretch a little bit because we've been sitting for a while. So maybe just stand up and be a tree for a minute, waving in the breeze. Or you can be a seated tree if you prefer. I just think it's better if we are not just staying in the same position all the time staring at the screen. So this would be a good time to get a pencil and paper or pencils and paper or pens and paper or I'm not necessarily asking you to do anything with the templates, which Liz so kindly put online. What I am asking you to do is to think, if we're going to have a planet and we're going to have a tree and we know it's going to be a post oak tree and they're going to be birds, what else do you want in the picture? And it doesn't have to be just one thing. And so Does anybody have any questions about what I just said?
Just a clarifying question.
Mhm.
What you said something about the galaxy, and
Mm.
um, yeah, and it sounds like you've got that ready to go, right?
Right now, I have a 5 foot by 3 foot piece of canvas that has been painted white on both sides. That's what I've got. So, if you have suggestions for the galaxy, and I know you know a lot more about it than I do, that would be very welcome.
Well, I was just curious, but I don't know, might think about something.
Okay. And let's take about maybe 5 minutes for now, and then we'll see if anybody has anything they want to share. I do not know how to share music, but maybe being Quakers, we can do this in silence or the idea here is to get your ideas on paper in visible form, whether it's words or images or both. But I don't want this to just be Joanna's singing tree. Okay.
So are we going to say things as they occur to us, or you're suggesting we draw, or suggesting we write?
I'm suggesting you draw and or write, and maybe not say anything for a few minutes. Okay, that's been about 6 or 7 minutes. And what came up in your minds or what came up on your paper, whether it was planned or unplanned? Does anybody have anything that they want to share?
Sunflowers.
Sunflowers?
Mhm.
All right. Is that something that you could hold up to the camera on your computer so we could take a peek, or not yet?
I wrote it down, but the drawing is on a piece of yellow paper, notebook paper. Can't really see it.
Okay.
Yeah, you would
Well-
need to turn your background off for us to see it, or hold it right in front of you.
It's so light.
Uh-huh.
Not sure.
I'm gonna pin you so I can see you bigger. Okay, I can see it sort of a little bit, kind of. Let's see if I can make it bigger on my screen.
Oh, Lois, hold it right in front of your face. Maybe that will focus it better.
Nope.
I don't know.
No, the
No.
other way worked better.
Other way work better? Okay.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, cool. So Lois, not right this minute, but I'm gonna put in the chat my telephone number. And what I'm hoping is that actually I'll put my telephone number and my email. And what I'm hoping is that people can take a picture with your phone and then send it to me either by text message or by email, if you would be so kind, when it's to the place where you feel you want to share it. Because I intend to incorporate your ideas into the overall composition. And so it would help me a lot to be able to have those. Kevin, do you have anything you are ready to share? Okay, I'm going to pin you. It's about the mycorrhizomes, isn't it?
It's about the roots and the
root.
interconnectedness and reaching for sustenance and sharing that sustenance. And I need to turn the picture around so I can read it.
Uh-huh.
I put a bunch of words. Roots providing grounding, nourishment, interconnectedness, solidity, steadfastness, rootedness, stockiness, love, embrace, transmit capillary pressure.
All right. And the same thing that I said to Lois, that is very cool. If you could, when you're ready, photograph it and
I
send
couldn't
me.
see, but it looked, I really liked the way that Kevin kind of textured those roots, you know. It kind of gave the idea of these small little fingers reaching out, but also of kind of something long and deep as well. I really like the way those are kind of textured together like that.
And I have no idea how live oak roots look, but if I were a live oak and I could make up how my roots were, that's how I'd be.
Okay. So how about you, Howard?
I couldn't get off that idea of the galaxy, so
That's fine. The galaxy is yours.
and the word that kept coming back was swirls, you know, because of course that's what galaxies look like when they're seen, you know, from above, and so and I thought of swirls of leaves and birds and stars, you know, just kind of swirling around.
Mhm.
I don't have a drawing of that.
But you have the word swirls.
Swirls and maybe swirls of the three, you know, elements we're talking about here. Yeah.
So swirls of birds and leaves and stars. Is that what you said?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Super cool. Thank you. Chris Drexler, are you there to share?
I am, but I would like to share my screen
Okay.
because what I want to, since I can't draw for one thing, but the other thing is one of the most powerful pieces of art that has affected me is Edward Hicks's Peaceable Kingdom.
Yes.
And what I want to show here is, and let me share the screen and what I can talk. Let's see. I think this will work. What I want to emphasize is William Penn meeting with the Native Americans down here,
Yes.
only in a modern sense of having people from different backgrounds getting together and working together.
Ah,
So, I mean, I don't want to be pejorative, but like skinheads and, businessmen and farmers and blue collar workers, but the peacefulness of that. And of course, I couldn't draw that if I wanted to, but
okay. Like in the Peaceable Kingdom.
right. And that
Fixes.
putting in the effort to speak to each other and get to know each other.
That's great. Thank you so much. And John Coffin.
So Chris, I was just thinking that when that group struck up a song, that must have been incredible. If they ever get around to singing, who knows? So, so I was more concerned, I think, with who, and based on our conversation earlier, Joanna, who is around, who hangs around trees, and these smaller animals. So I used to be able to do this real well when I was 8, 9, and 10. Apparently, I could really draw pretty fairly. But anyway, I haven't done that in a long time. But I have a picture of a tree, a lone tree, and my mother was born in a town called Lone Tree, a little village in Iowa. It was a huge tree. But anyway, I have some of the occupants that move around trees in my drawing, which I just started. I have a cat, a small cat walking away. So you see his or her backside. I have what I would want to be a blue jay, because I was sitting at breakfast this morning and looked out of the window, and there were 2 of these magnificent, oh my goodness, blue jays in our backyard around the tree. And so, I'd want a robin and a robin and a couple of blue jays and a cardinal in my idealized backyard. This is probably a no-no, but when we were small, each of our uncles were teaching us how to build a birdhouse, and inevitably they had to be put up on a tree somewhere. So a couple of birdhouses and the like. So I just got started, Joanna, but it moved my heart to even get started.
Cool. So you can continue. And when you are ready in the next day or 2, if you could take a photo of what you've got and send it my way, I would appreciate it.
Right.
Okay. So me, I found myself not well. I took photos earlier today of the post oak that is in my yard, just to see the branching pattern. And so what I've got is just kind of, I don't know, you can see that's the tree coming up out of the planet. And then wouldn't you know it, he's got the whole world in his hands, or she's got the whole world in her hands, one or the other. Little bit of anthropomorphizing of the creator. and the other side of the world, Africa and India, Australia and Antarctica. We always think we need to be first, front and center. You know, our maps show North America in the middle, and at least the ones that we had at school when I was teaching did. And everything else was kind of over there or over there. So we don't even show up on this particular one, but we're around the other side. So that's what I've got so far. I wanted to say something about Harlan Smith. Does anybody remember Joan Smith and Harlan Smith? Harlan used to be, well, they were members of our meeting. Joan still is. Harlan was the head of the astronomy department here at UT. And pretty much promptly after he retired, he came down with pancreatic cancer, which was really a lousy, rotten deal because he didn't have any bad habits except for maybe playing harmonica and annoying Joan. But anyway, he didn't survive. He died. But before he died, we went over to his house, and he was one of the people who worked on the Hubble. And he so wanted to stick around to see what the Hubble was going to make visible. And he said something sitting on his sofa that I have spent years pondering. And maybe I'm beginning to be able to hold the thought in my mind. But he said it the way I would say, well, I think it's, it's time to wash our hands because we're going to have lunch or whatever, something very, very down to earth and matter of fact and not a big deal to him, but it was really hard for me to hold the thought in my hand. He said, he said, then you get to the end of space, which is the beginning of time. And maybe that's not hard for all of you to hold in your minds, but it's taken me years to be able to hold that thought in my mind. Then you get to the end of space, which is the beginning of time. So I want to thank Harlan for sharing that thought. I want to say how I got involved with this. I told you that I read the Kate Sarity book when I was little, like elementary school, 5th grade, probably. I read every one of hers that I could find. And then I saw on the email one day something about an activity at UT, and it said singing tree. And I was like, what? Singing tree? So I had to go to this activity. It was a conference to see if it was anything connected with the singing tree that I knew and loved. And that's where I met Lori Marshall. And, we found out that we had Quakerism in common, and turned out she had Waldorf training and I had Waldorf training. We'd both been art teachers, and there were all kinds of commonalities. And having this book in common was kind of like having a shared grandmother or great grandmother. It's very special. And she's been to our meeting a couple of times because she has a son here in town. Anyway, at some point after meeting her in that way, and she was having people color with colored pencils on various cutouts to put onto a background that she had made for the project that they were doing. I don't remember the project at all, and I don't know if I ever saw the finished product, but having met her, I was on an email list, I guess, and when she started a training program for facilitators to magnify and multiply the Singing Tree Project, I thought, I'd like to do that. And a friend of mine knew about my interest in the whole thing, and she was very generous. She just gave me the money to do it. Amazing. And so I went through this facilitator training, and then at the meeting we were on lockdown. We didn't see each other. And I got permission to bring the supplies into the meeting house and spread out. And I got a few people to help me. Some of them were from the meeting and some weren't. And we painted together and we painted together and we painted together. We'd get together on a Saturday and paint. And we took the table outside, we took the cloth outside, we all wore masks, and gradually this thing came into being. Larry said, "That took forever. You're not going to do that, are you?" It did take a long time. And then we had a celebration where we showed the finished product, and a tree was brought from my house in a pot because a squirrel had planted it. And I thought it was going to be a post oak, but I'm pretty sure it's going to be a Spanish oak because it's got much more crispy edges on the leaves than the post oak, which is more curvy. So I don't really know how that tree got planted in that pot, but it has been transplanted now, I'm happy to say, and it's looking like it might make it up on the hill by our meeting house. I don't really have too much more to share, except that if you want to go ahead with leaves or stars or birds, I want to explain a little bit about what they stand for. Is that okay? Okay.
Absolutely.
Okay. So the leaves on the leaves of the tree, as we know, I'm putting my hands up to be leaves. They receive the sunlight and they do a sort of amazing thing, which is scientific and magical, and that is photosynthesis. And they also help, like all the leaves work together to help give energy to the tree. And also they have those little holes all over them that absorb the CO2. And how do they, it's transpiration, right? Is that the word? Where they let out O2, which we need to live, and they receive the CO2. So then they die and they fall down and they rot and they make that thing that Chris told about, duff, right? Is that what you said it was called? Duff?
Duff works. Yes. UFF.
DUFF. And they fertilize. And so at every stage, the leaves are in service. And so what does that mean if we're drawing something on the leaves or writing something on the leaves, or drawing and writing? What kind of service? How might I, how might we, how do I serve others, the world, and also what serves to give me or us spiritual refreshment for the long haul? So what do you do that serves you or serves others as spiritual nourishment or spiritual refreshment for the long haul? And I thought, just the joy of painting or drawing. If you start coloring, time kind of goes away, and it might just be this leaf shape, and you might just color it. And when you color it, please make the colors strong and pretty much get rid of the white space. I will bring with me 7 boxes of Prismacolors and also 24 Prismacolors, so that plenty of colors. And also I'll bring a larger box with 48 watercolor pencils, which can be used wet or dry. I mean, they can be dry and then add water with a paintbrush, or they can be drawn on a wet surface, you can wet the leaf first. I would recommend leaving, if you do go ahead and print out something like this, leave the paper intact. Don't try to cut it up first. And if you want to wait until you come to yearly meeting, that's fine. But if you think you're going to be too busy there and you might have more time now at home, then that would be fine also to go ahead and draw. And there are a couple of no-nos. One no-no is crayons. Another no-no is oil pastels because they're oily and waxy. And so that will not go well with the material that we use to cover the whole thing, which is called acrylic gel medium. And so colored pencils are fine, and watercolor paint is fine, acrylic paint is fine, and collage is fine. Like if you want to cut out things from a magazine, words and or pictures, and glue them on, that's fine, because that won't smear. I'm not yes.
Joanna,
Yes.
you said something earlier on, and I just wanted to stand still by it a minute when you were describing what trees and leaves did.
Okay.
So that was a couple of paragraphs ago. It was so
Okay.
important. It was so important, but it made me think of the value of repetitive behavior, and that the repetitive behavior is really crucial. As I begin, if I think back on my life and the things I've done, there's been a lot of repetitive behavior. And when I do AVP programs, we talk about repetitive behavior as often being, not always, but often being the bedrock of nonviolent behavior. That if we are living a nonviolent life or trying to do the best we can, that often we're at home in behavior that it repeats itself or is close to repeating itself, whether it be day to day or week to week or year to year. So there's some kind of, and hearing what you were describing in terms of trees and leaves and what they provide the atmosphere and what they provide for humans as well as animal life.
Right.
It's quite remarkable, and it's all in there of most of what trees do. A lot of what trees do is quiet. It's very quiet, and we only notice it, as there's seasonal changes or what have you. But they're doing what they're made to do, and they're doing it over and over and over, and we all benefit from it. And so the models in human behavior are there too, I think, but we sometimes find that too difficult to sort of put out there. But anyway, I was just thinking of that when you talked about leaves and what they're made to do and how well they do it usually, if they still stay healthy.
Right. Thank you, John. Thank you. I've never thought about repetitive behavior in that way before. That's definitely food for thought. I wanted to say something specifically to Chris, because you were the person that said something about not knowing how art is happening. Okay, so what I just did was I colored really hard around the outside, and as I moved into the center, I pressed the pencil less and less on the paper, lighter and lighter, so that the outside where I pressed really hard is darker and the inside gets lighter and lighter. And when it's lighter and lighter, it's easier to mix and blend, which you can do with another color. And I just did part of it with yellow.
I can see that, Joanna. Yes,
Yeah.
I understand the concept.
Okay. And So if I wanted to put words in there also, I have a question and I do not know the answer, and it's not very good that I don't know the answer. Could I use Sharpie or even ballpoint pen to do words? And I'm going to have to practice and find out what happens to Sharpie and ballpoint pen when you put gel medium on top of it. So sincere apologies, I do not know the answer, but if it turns out that ballpoint pen and Sharpies are fine, I will bring ballpoint pens and Sharpies with me.
Joanna,
Yes, I'm listening.
you've mentioned gel medium on top a couple times.
Yeah.
I don't know what that is or what it does to the thing.
Okay. For one thing, it acts like glue. So on the back of each one, I'll just have a tape loop.
Yeah,
Like-
I know a tape loop.
Okay, a tape loop inside out loop of tape to stick things onto temporarily onto the background. And then when Saturday afternoon rolls around and it's really going to be time to stick it all on for good, then take the tape loops off and slather the back with some gel medium, which is basically like
Oh.
clear acrylic. It's not
Oh, okay. You're not putting it on top. You're you're
well,
saturating the back of the paper.
I'm putting it on the back first and then going over the top, okay, to keep all the edges down. So that's like A, and then there's B, which is going over the entire surface of
Or
the
you are going
entire
over the top.
3x5. So it'll be slightly shiny, and everything will be glued down, as it were. It's kind of like Elmer's glue.
I don't usually cover my art projects with Elmer's glue,
Well,
but I get the picture that it's kind of a sealer, shiny.
yeah, you got it. You got it. And okay, so onward to birds. And birds are, they come and they go. So this would be something that's already in your life. Like, what do I do that I really love and that is connected to service in some way? Well, for me, like I said, it's singing. I think I said that, or maybe I didn't say it. The Threshold Choir. So I might, in the lighter space, put some people singing, or just some musical notes. And this one, of course, birds sing too. And I love to hear the first birds singing in the neighborhood when I walk the dog. But what do I not have in my life that would serve as spiritual refreshment? What's missing? Somebody else, not me, said, I love dancing with people. So she would put dancing in either the word dancing or a picture of people dancing, because that's what she wants to have fly into her life. I haven't decided yet what I want to have on my bird or birds. What's missing? What do you want to have fly into your life? And what do you want to send around the world? And then, last but not least, and probably the easiest to conceptualize, is the stars, because every one of us has been inspired by and encouraged by others. And, who comes to mind? And how might you show them? You could just write their name. You could draw a picture. You could show something about them. It's a very small star. You can't make a whole narrative in this little star, but you can do something that symbolizes the spiritual refreshment for the long haul that you receive or received from somebody else, living or no longer living, and fill up the white space.
So Joanna, let me ask you a technical question.
Yeah.
I don't have a good feeling for the scale of this tree, but it looks like the things you're making, like the birds and the leaves and the stars, are on the order of 3 or 4 inches. Is that the scale of, I mean, if someone made a 12-inch long something, that would seems like might be overpowering. Is that?
That
Is
would
that
be a
correct?
problem. Yep, that would be
Yeah.
a problem.
Okay.
But I mean, what kind of a thing are we talking about? These things are more or less the size they're going to be on the actual wall hanging, which is 3 feet wide by 5 feet long.
Mm.
But the other things, your ideas that I want you to take photos of and send me by email or text message, those, I don't know. I mean, maybe it's an ocean liner. Maybe it needs to be big. Maybe it's something we haven't even mentioned out loud. But if you send it to me, I will do my best to incorporate it into the overall composition. It might end up looking a little bit cluttered. We'll see.
A lively tree has a lot of life. Cluttered is okay.
Okay. Well, simplicity, but it may not be Spartan.
Yeah, that sounds great, I think, too.
And, there are going to be children participating, and it's all pretty much a wild card, but it will be co-creating, and it will be portable, so somebody gets to take it home and hang it up in their meeting until next year or whenever.
Well, Joanna, I want to thank you for putting in the time on this. This is a lot of work for you.
You're welcome. That's all for now. If anyone has nothing to do Saturday afternoon, ha ha ha. Or Saturday evening. I'm sure I could use help with the gel medium.
As long as there's music nearby.
There will be music, won't there?
And it's true, you'll have this thing out in the dining hall at all times, right? Before then.
Yeah, that's the plan. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And there will be at least one session or two with the kids. You
Right.
know, I think we're encouraging older people to come as well when you do those. So
Right. And I'm going to bring some clipboards so people can color while they're sitting in business meeting, if that's not too distracting, or wherever they're sitting.
So Joanne, I probably shouldn't say this, but I can't get the thought out of my mind.
Uh-huh.
In that Howard's interest in galaxies, I was wondering if you make the hands holding up the Earth, if you make one of them a human hand and the other one green 3-fingered, like an
Green.
extraterrestrial. But probably shouldn't have said that. E.T.
That's a great idea.
Kind of like a lizard.
Well, like E.T. Remember the movie E.T.?
I do. He had that very special finger with a glowing
And
tip.
I think he had 3 fingers, and I think they were green. But it's just an idea.
Right. And didn't one of them have a glowing tip?
It did. It had a glowing tip. But you'd have to probably pay copyright if you put that on there.
You might be right. I don't know.
Can I share how my roots have developed?
Please. Woohoo.
So are you seeing the roots?
I
Yeah.
am.
Okay.
Yeah.
Very clearly.
I've sent that to you all.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, that's very nice, Kevin. Thank you. And
Okay.
Joanna, thank you too
Yeah.
for the whole upset.
You're welcome.